Well, what's interesting is in the sales video on the current version, I kind of went into a little bit of the background as to how I started to develop these, which started developing them back in 2012. So there's 4 years behind this now, and I still use it. I mean, it's still the very foundation of everything that I do in SEO. And what's interesting is, in doing client work, again, I started doing it for lead gen, my own lead gen properties, because I wasn't. Well, actually, in 2012, I had started my agency, but I was still running my lead gen stuff, and I had really reached that point where it was difficult to continue, like, to scale anymore because I was still doing everything 100% on my own. I didn't have any VAs at the time, no outsourcing. I mean, I was doing everything, and so I was completely saturated. And when I kind of fell into this, when I got introduced into IFTTT, like, I really didn't expect it to work, but when it started to work, when I started working on these syndication networks and it started to work, I was able to automate a lot of my SEO stuff that I was doing normally more manually, and that gave me the ability to start to scale a little bit more again. And then eventually, I trained VAs to outsource, so that I could outsource a lot of the building because it is very labor intensive to create these networks. I highly recommend that you just outsource them. But what's interesting is, besides it being effective and actually working and helping me to rank videos, local lead gen sites, that kind of thing, is that with my agency, with my in approaching businesses, I was able to get the light bulb to go off for businesses about how effective these could be without them having to understand what syndication was and backlinks and all of this other stuff. It was easy for me to be able to explain to them, look, one of the things that most local businesses, especially around 2012, were hearing consistently was that they needed to be on social media and that they needed to be posting regularly. And that's a very daunting task for businesses because they're too busy running their businesses to be sitting behind a computer and posting on Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn and all these other things and engaging with people. And so when I would start, once I had realized how effective these networks were and I was using them to automate any kind of content syndication, I was able to sell that as a service to local businesses with a huge markup. And at the time, I was still building them manually, so it would take me a day and a half to 2 days to build an entire network, but I'd sell them for $600 or $700. And so that was fairly good money at the time. Being a new agency owner and still doing everything manually, that was still good income from doing something that was pretty much a repetitive task. Once you learn how to do it, you could actually set up a network in a day. But it was also just the fact that it was an easy sell because I could explain to the business owners, listen, you don't have to worry about updating all of your social media properties. We can do that all at one time. The only thing that needs to be updated is your blog. That's it, or your YouTube channel. But most businesses had their own website, so we would set up for blog syndication. And I would explain that to them and then show them just a picture of how it would work, a graphic. They weren't even as fancy graphics as they are like now. But I would show them how it worked, and I'd say, look, all we need to do is publish content to your blog. And what was funny is most businesses would say that they would go ahead and take care of posting to their blog, which 95%, 9.5 out of 10 of them never did. And so it was funny because they would purchase this syndication network, which I would sell to them. I would create it at the time before I started training VAs to do it. And then I would follow up with them in a couple weeks and say, hey, I've noticed you haven't posted anything to your blog. These aren't going to be effective unless you're posting regularly. And invariably, they would always end up coming back to me and saying, okay, you know what? We don't have time to post for a blog. We thought we could do it, but we're not going to do it. How much would you charge for content marketing? And so it turned from just a one-off sale from selling a network into an ongoing service where I would start posting blog posts. And again, initially I did all that myself, but then I trained VAs how to curate. And I developed a content marketing business as part of one of my agency offerings, one of the services that my agency offered. So out of IFTTT networks kind of grew this whole other revenue stream from my business, which was content marketing. And so that it's turned out to be just something that now it's just part of my SEO strategy for any type of SEO work, whether it's for me, for affiliate sites, or even client sites or lead gen. I don't do a lot of client work anymore, but I still have clients, but or new lead gen properties that I set up. Just content marketing with the IFTTT networks is just part of my strategy, hands down. It's just the foundation. I build everything upon that, if that makes sense.
I think it's important for everybody to see who's considering this investment to see that it's not just you, it's not just me, it's not just this handful of people. It's a process that anybody can use and follow, and hell, even outsource beyond that, right?
Yeah. Well, that's the key. That and I mentioned this in the training. I don't recommend that you build networks more than just a couple of them to learn how to do it. But once you've figured out the process and you know how to do it, outsource it. Whether you can purchase our network building service, that's entirely up to you, or train your own VAs. Honestly, if you're going to build a business out of it, you should be training your own VA so that you can have your own team, and it's more economical that way for you. You can make more money because we obviously mark up what we pay out for labor. That's the only way we can manage, or else we wouldn't do it. We're not doing it for free. Let's put it that way. But certainly you can come to us if you don't want to take the time to training VAs. That can be a pain in the ass. But the point is just to get, especially if you're running an agency, having your own team members or outsourcers, contract employees, whatever you want to call it, to be able to build these for you, to take care of. You guys should be working on your business instead of in your business. So the training is really about learning how it works so that when you do outsource it, you can train somebody, number one. Number two, so that you understand how they work in case something goes wrong with one of the networks, which happens from time to time. There's no question it's going to happen. You can get in and very quickly troubleshoot. You'll know, okay, well, since you have an intimate understanding of how they work, you'll be able to identify where the problem is and resolve it very, very quickly with a minimal downtime. So.